You think hardware is one of the factors for becoming a good gamer slash pro player? Is one of the factors? No. I don't think having good hardware is a factor of like becoming a good player. Because you can learn so many things without having to upgrade your hardware, right? Like you got a brain, you know what I'm saying? Like you use your brain for these games. No, it's not all the time of being like mechanically gifted, right? Granted, if you have shitty hardware, your mechanics might be a little off, but that's not that big of a crutch, you know? Most of these games is all brain power. You know, you're processing information faster than another person and you're executing on it. That's how it is when you're playing a game, right? So hardware, I don't think makes a good player. A good example is I used a 60 hertz monitor so long. I was so late to swap to a 120 hertz monitor in my Counter-Strike. In my Counter-Strike like streaming days, I used a 60 hertz monitor for so fucking long. I used it forever, and I still slapped ass, you know. So hardware doesn't make you a good player, but can make you a better gamer. Yeah, I mean it could help. Hardware could definitely help you for sure. It makes the process a little easier, but not by much, right? Because like if you're already not a very good gamer slash video game player, and you throw better hardware in there, it's not going to really help you, right? So it kind of just depends on where you're at currently, like skill level wise, you know? That's where it matters. If you're already so talented and you're already so good on less hardware, then a hardware upgrade is beneficial for sure. I wonder if he moves the mic when playing off stream. No, I don't. You don't need more than 60 FPS for a single player game. The lower your frame rate goes, the more delay all of your inputs have. So basically, you have a much smoother experience, not just visually, but physically playing, pressing A, pressing your joystick and shit. Like that is a much smoother experience the higher frames you go, right? So I kind of disagree. Like you definitely do need more than 60 FPS in a game because 60 FPS is still pretty laggy, you know? Push higher than that, make it smoother for your eyeballs and your fingers. It's exponential. The higher you go, the less you notice. Yeah, it is exponential for sure. For sure. Like the higher you go, the less you'll notice it, right? Going from 60 to 90, that's still huge. 90 to 120, it's still big, but you won't notice it. Like you'll start to notice it less. 120 to 150, you'll start to notice it less, but you still feel it a little bit. 150 to 180, now you're getting to the point where it's kind of hard to tell the difference, right? 180 to 210, at that point, 180 to 210, it is very difficult to tell the difference, like extremely. And then you just keep going higher and higher and higher. The higher you go, it's noticeable, but like not really. Like it's just the only way you notice is if like your 240 hertz screen and then you go to like 200, you know, that's the only time you'd really notice. But in terms of like actual input delay and stuff, it doesn't really exist at that high. Didn't you do that exact test with Linus? Yeah. Yeah, we did, actually. It's crazy, dude. The test that we did with Linus was crazy. I still can't believe the difference. So basically the test that I did a video with Linus Tech Tips, okay? And we did a video about the difference of like 60 frames, 120, 240, 60 hertz screens, 144 hertz screen, 240 hertz screens. And we tested all of those in the same exact like test field. And you literally, when you're on a shittier screen and shittier frames, the person that is jumping across your screen or crossing your screen, you have so much less time to react the less frames you have. It's crazy. It's actually crazy because it can't process it fast enough. So that person, it almost seems like they float across your screen because your frames are that bad, right? And the higher you go, the more of like a smooth kind of cross that they get. It's weird. It tripped me the fuck out. I never actually broke it down, and I never actually compared 60 FPS to 144 to 240. I never did it in like an actual test perspective. But I always knew that it was significantly worse. I always knew because I could tell the difference by playing it, right? But I never truly tested it. And when I tested it, it was fucking nuts. It was nuts. I'm playing on a 10 ms response time monitor. Does it affect my gameplay in games like Valorant and CSGO? 10 ms? Hell yeah, it does. 10 ms is fucking huge. Get rid of that shit. Was the difference between 120 hertz and 144 hertz monitors noticeable? No, not really. That one's very minuscule. 120 to 144 is very minuscule. Although 120 to 240 is pretty big. That one you'll notice. You'll notice the jump to 240, but a jump in 120 to 144 is very small. But it's all relative, right? So like 120 hertz to 144 hertz doesn't feel too different. But if you had 60 hertz and then you went to 80, that feels huge, you know? So it's kind of relative to the number that you're at. Because 120 is already such a high number, going to 144 isn't that insane. But since 60 is such a low number, going to 80, that makes a huge difference. It's weird. It's weird. Trips you out. I remember back in the CS:GO like early days, there'd be like these cheap ass fucking tournaments that would literally have trash 60 hertz monitors. So we'd have to play 60 hertz because they just didn't have 120s. And then we had to overclock the 60 hertz monitors to like 85. And it was so worth, but every single person had to because like nobody's going to play on 60 fucking hertz. Like what? So yeah, we had to overclock the monitors in the tournament and stuff. Weird. Why don't you play on 1440p? I don't really like it. I don't know. It's just a loss of frames for no real reason. 1440p is not even a real difference, honestly. At the end of the day, okay, 1440p versus 1080p. At first glance, if you compare a 1440p versus a 1080p monitor side by side, which I've done, when 1440p was coming out, I tested them side by side. And at first glance, you're like, wow, okay, yeah, it does look better. But then you play on it for a couple weeks, and then it's just going to be the same to you because you're going to get used to it. It's not a big enough difference where you're going to be like wowed every time. You're only wowed for that initial swap. So that initial swap, you're like, whoa. And then a week or two goes by, and then it's like the same exact thing. Only less frames, right? That's why I haven't made the swap. So size does matter? Absolutely. Size of monitor is really important. Size of monitor is really important because it's also based off the distance that you are comfortable in, right? So the distance of how far your face is to your monitor is really, really important for monitor size. Because if you sit too close and you get a bigger monitor, then that means your eyes are going to have to move much more to see everything accurately, right? You're going to have to be like moving your eyeballs like crazy, sometimes even moving your head, you know? But if you sit further back and if you're playing from here, then like if you're playing this far back, then it's not too bad. Like if you're going to upgrade your monitor to get like 3 extra inches, it's fine. If you're playing this far away, sure, it won't be that bad. But if you start to get closer, that's when it gets really, really bad. I think 24 inches is a very, very solid size. IMO. Oh, hey. What's the longest you've gone without gaming since you were a pro? I don't know, a week? Maybe? A week? Sounds right. I hope that PS5 focuses on frame because I think Assassin's Creed is going to run at 30 FPS. Oh yeah, it will. The next-gen consoles will not run that great. No way. But the new Assassin's Creed is going to run 30 FPS probably on 4K. If you do 1080p, it'll probably be 60 or more, I'd imagine. I mean, the new, you know that Unreal Engine 5 video where they showed it playing on a PlayStation 5? I think it had less than like 30 FPS, you know? That whole video, it was barely hitting 30 if I remember correctly. So I don't know if that means anything to you guys, but it could just be because the demo is not, you know, high optimized, right? It could just be that, but still. PS5, Unreal Engine 5, 1440p, 30 FPS. Okay, so yeah. So that Unreal Engine 5 demo, 1440p, 30 frames. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. To me, that's not a good thing. To me, that means we've made zero progress. But I also understand that that is an Unreal Engine gameplay demo, which is very different from a game that's being developed by a company that's actually trying to make the game. You know what I'm saying? It's like the whole purpose of that engine was to render as much as it possibly can, right? That was the purpose. The purpose was to fucking all the rendering, all the visuals, maximum. So that's what it was going for. So obviously, an actual game developed by an actual company will not do that because they would not want that. What do you think Valor's new mode will be? I think it'll be like a gun game or something. I don't know. If I donate with a clip, can you rate my aim? Didn't want to post it without asking. Rate your aim. I don't even know what that means. I feel like you shouldn't do that because that just doesn't sound right. Rate your aim sounds wrong. I can't do that. I feel dirty.